Hey everyone, welcome back. In the previous lesson, we created our first document directly in the Firebase console on the web. However, I realized that we used Kingfisher here a few lessons back to set the image without ever talking about what Kingfisher is. So I wanted to remedy that mistake on my part by just going over what Kingfisher is. And yeah, so let's get started. I'm going to open up a browser here. And I'm going to open up a new tab and just do search for Kingfisher iOS. And what you want to look for is this GitHub right here. And so what Kingfisher is, right here it says, a lightweight, pure Swift library for downloading and caching images from the web. All right, so Kingfisher, it's nice. It's a powerful pure Swift library for downloading and caching images. It provides you a chance to use a pure Swift way to work with remote images in your app. This is my currently my go-to pod for downloading images and caching. So let's check out some of the features. It provides asynchronous image downloading and caching, loading image from either URL session or network-based networking or local provided data. It does some really nice extra things like providing image processors and filters. You can set activity indicators for loading. If it's a big file, you can set a placeholder background. You can do a lot of stuff. So let's take a look at what we can do here. So here's what we've done so far basically, is the simplest use case, setting an image to an image view just by using kf.setImage with the URL. But you can do a lot more. So let's take a look at this more advanced example here. So here it says with this example, we are downloading a high resolution image. It downsamples it to match the image view size. It automatically rounds the corners, shows a system indicator and a placeholder image while downloading. When it's prepared, it animates the small thumbnail image with a fade-in effect. The original large image is also cached to disk for later use to get rid of downloading it again in a detail view. And a console log is printed when the task finishes, either for success or failure. So if you wanted to write the code yourself to do all of that, it's going to be a lot of code. So this library makes it really nice to do complicated things like this. We're going to do a few of these things, I think. Let's go ahead and figure out how to do an activity indicator and a placeholder and then a fade-in effect. And we'll do that on our category images right here. Let's go ahead and scroll down a little bit further. And we want to take a look at the cheat sheet here. I'm going to open that in a new tab. And here we have a cheat sheet. It shows some of the most common tasks and kind of makes it easy to grab the individual items that we want. Real quick though, let's talk about caching. So what do I mean when I say that it caches the images? So when you're working with remote images, you don't want to download the image every single time you want to display it. That takes up a lot of network bandwidth, and it's just not good practice. Instead, what you want to do is cache it or save it so that the next time that your app needs that specific image, first it checks to see if that image has already been downloaded. And if it has, then it uses the cached image instead, saving you, number one, network bandwidth, but more importantly, a better user experience because they don't have to wait for that image to re-download, okay? So that's what I mean by caching. All right, so let's take a look here. Let's go ahead and have a placeholder so that if the image takes a while to download, there's still something there. And it looks like we do that simply by first having a placeholder image and then using the set image with URL and also a second parameter here, the placeholder image. So in your Artable Assets folder, there should be an image called placeholder. So I'm going to open up Xcode and let's jump down to our Assets folder here. And then I'm going to go ahead and drop that in. Then let's go to our category cell.swift. And right here in our configure cell, we're going to create our placeholder. So I'm going to say let placeholder equal UI image named, and the name of it is placeholder. There we go, gonna save that. And then right here, we say set image with URL And then we have placeholder, and we just pass in the placeholder image that we created right here. All right, very good. So now when we run this, while it's loading the image, it's going to show this image instead. All right, so that's the first part that we wanted to do. The next part was let's show a loading indicator while it's downloading. And to do that, super simple. All we do is get the image and then set the method indicator type equal to .activity. Okay, so let's do that. Jumping back to Xcode, we say category image dot kf dot let's see here, indicator type is equal to dot activity. And that will just show the standard activity indicator centered in the middle of the image. And then finally, we wanted to add a nice fade in. Once the image has loaded, it will fade in and give a nice touch to it. All right, so what we need to do that is set some options, okay? And so let's go ahead and create an options variable. So here I'm going to say let options, and that is of type Kingfisher options info right here. And you can see that that is an array of Kingfisher options info items. Okay, and so we're gonna have an array here. And we want the Kingfisher options info item, and you'll be able to see the different option items they have here. We have cache memory only, original size, force refresh, transitions. We want just this right here, the dot transition. And the type of image transition that we want is dot fade. Okay, and you can see that they have a couple others, flip from bottom, from left. I think those ones are a little bit gimmicky, but I do like the fade one. Okay, so dot fade, and we will go 0.1 seconds. All right, so now that we have our options set up, we can go ahead and set that right here. We'll say options, and then provide those options that we just added. All right, so let's see how this goes. Just to recap, we are creating a placeholder image so that while the image is uploading, we are able to still see something. We create some options, and those are Kingfisher options info items, and we are going to be adding a transition fade option. And then we are also setting an indicator type, or in other words, a loading activity while the image is actively downloading. And then finally, we set the image. All right, so let's run this and see it. All right, so this image has already been cached. So let's go ahead and we're just gonna delete this app. Let's see here, Firestore Alpha. Here we go. So I'm gonna delete it. Say done. Then we're gonna rerun it. And you know what? I'm going to also, let's go back to our home VC. Just to make sure we catch that loading activity indicator, I'm going to make this URL a much bigger image, a higher resolution image, so that we can be sure that we see that loading indicator. So I'm going to grab, let's say this guy here. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to copy that image address, and hopefully this will be a larger, more high resolution image. And we'll save that and run it and see how that looks. All right, there we go. So we saw the placeholder image, the activity indicator, and then it faded in. Very cool. All right, and that is Kingfisher. I would definitely suggest familiarizing yourself with the GitHub page here, especially the cheat sheet. This shows you pretty much everything that you need to do quickly. If you, for instance, need to perform some action after the image is downloaded, you can add a completion handler. If you want to have Kingfisher handle the rounded corner image processing for you, you can do that right here. They have information about the caching, so you can do checks to see if an image is cached. you can set the limit for caching. So right now, the limit for the memory cache is set to 300 megabytes, or you can set it to a maximum number of images. So if you find that you have a lot more images that you need to be caching, then you can go ahead and modify that. So it says here, by default, the total cost limit of memory cache is 25% of your total memory in the device. Okay. Yeah, so you can also set default expiration for the cache, when they'll be removed from cache. And yeah, so definitely look through here and get familiar with Kingfisher. It's a very good tool to use when you're needing to do some downloading of remote images to your app. All right, so hope you enjoyed this little lesson about Kingfisher, and I'll see you in the next one when we will actually get to fetching those Firestore documents. See you there.